Hello, welcome to today's analysis. It's the 30th of May. It's one day before the final day of the month, and we've got a lot of announcements coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow should be the really big trading day. Everyone's closing off the month for May, and there's a lot of announcements coming out across the globe. So USA, Canada, Europe, they've all got quite high impact announcements coming through. So we're just going to have a quick look for today at a couple of different things. So have been away for a couple of days, and that's why there hasn't been any analysis coming through. However, I'm going to show you quickly the overview, the layout of the levels that we're looking for. This is the DAX. We've got 16,035 and 16,045. Bit of confluence here. Had a couple of rejections yesterday and didn't pass through. So this level here, looking for turnarounds around these levels could be quite good. It's about 76 points away from the current price, and towards the lower side, maybe around the S2 or even the breakout, really just looking for the price action to turn you back around at these levels. Remembering your risk reward is highly important, so going too close and too early can get you into trouble. We'll jump onto a weekly. I just want to take a quick look at the overall view. Now, we've kind of just come up. We're at the highs, or we have been in the past couple of weeks, and we're sort of coming back down now, but we haven't really touched the upper side. So down here, you can see that we've breached the lower band. We're making our way up to the higher band. So I would say that at some point, we're going to hit this upper band and then start to head down quite heavily. As we've seen over this area, where we've pretty much touched it here, the top band there, and then we've come straight down, touched it, gone back to the other side, almost touched it again, and then trickled downwards quite heavily. So looking for, on the longer term, we want to see a push up to the top Bollinger Band before we start to look for heavy shorting opportunities. On the daily, zoom in a little. You can see here we touched it on the 19th, touched the upper band. And I did mention at the time that it could be a good opportunity to look for short opportunities to hold longer term. Sort of around the low, let's say you got in at the low of that day, which was the close, looking at over 400 points. Definitely an excellent opportunity to get into a swing trade if you got onto that. Great work. And sort of heading down towards probably the lower Bollinger Band. The thing with indexes though is that they have a bias to go up, because as a weaker company falls out of the index, it's replaced by a better company that has higher market capitalization than the company that dropped out. So inherently it goes up and up and up, as long as the economy as a whole is doing well, or there's a company underneath the index that is doing better than some within that current index pricing. Back to the DAX for a quick look, kind of looking for a push up to around these levels to kind of replicate what's happened back here. Touch, touch, and then a push through. So you'd have to be willing to take a bit of heat potentially. However, using price action and seeing where there's a bit of weakness can really be quite helpful into getting into a short. Alternatively, we've got the downside, which we might come down to about this sort of region here. As you can see, price back here has had a bit of interaction, a bit of movement. So around probably the breakout short, we might start to see a rejection back up towards that close gap. 70 points in that, you'd be probably wanting to put a stop outside of the S2, but whether that's worth it or not, it doesn't look like the strongest trading conditions in the world. One thing to note, we are around the 16,000 price mark, so 16,000, quite a strong point off the clean 1,000 price points to trade against. It looks like we've kind of pushed up yesterday and didn't get through it, so could be an indication that perhaps we're not going to push higher. Obviously, there's always the chance that we do. Over to the FTSE now. Very scattered lines, just like the DAX. So today's trading isn't overly certain. It's not a high probability type of a trading day, but just looking for general opportunities if you have to trade. Could be looking around these levels again. It's pretty much the same old story. Unless there's something changed in these levels, you're just looking for where they're strong and tight. So these two levels are quite close together. And then looking at the previous pricing areas to see where people are happy trading. So people are happy taking orders here, here, but then between these pricing in between, so about 20 points of that, is very motion filled. There's a bit of activity here. So just getting a feel for the structure of where people are happy to buy and sell and where they're not happy buying and selling, which is when you get these events that push the market in a particular direction, that will help you to determine whether something might turn around at a certain level or not. It will help you identify the areas that you should be looking for in terms of price action to take you into a trade. So for example, you might bounce off these types of levels. You might go down to the bottom and you'll find that there's a bit of support here to push it back up. Head over to a daily chart now just to have a look at the longer term view. As you can see, we've breached the lower Bollinger Band and continued last week. And yesterday was a public holiday, I believe. It's the 26th. So the Friday had a nice buying day. So based on the lower Bollinger Band being touched, we would ideally look for pushes up. However, as you can see back here, it was just a strong tumble for some time. So we'll have a quick look at the weekly. We kind of haven't really pushed up to a higher level yet. So back here, we've kind of touched the lower Bollinger Band, had a strong push up. That was probably about as close as it got to touching, which probably doesn't classify it as a touch. So I'm still looking for it to head north. However, we are at all-time highs. So that could be a bit of a challenge to get to. We'll probably come down a little bit further, shake out any weak hands before heading back north again. Today, guys, nothing too spectacular. Maybe a buy off these levels if we see that sort of a price action working, turning around, a bit of weakness here that makes it push back the other way. That is if we get down to these levels. We'll see the market might be waiting for some heavier movements tomorrow when all the news announcements, economic announcements and data are coming out. And it's also end of month tomorrow. So tomorrow should be quite a good day. Hopefully the levels scatter in the right layout to identify some clean trades for us. However, that extra volatility will put a bit of pressure on the extra movement we're going to see. So stop losses could be in a bit of a trickier spot because there'll be more movement. So it's just something to consider. Things are going to be moving quite quickly tomorrow, I would say, and it's end of month. So exciting times. Let's see what's in store for us today, and good luck trading.